going to start in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, and verse 9. Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, come from the four winds, O breath, and breath upon these slain, that they may live. And that's the breath of life, the understanding of the scriptures. Verse 10 says, so I prophesied as you commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood up upon their feet, an exceeding great army. That exceeding great army goes into the elect of Israel. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahasham Rabakakwadash. Peace and blessings to the elect that listening and learning the Akinwa of Wakyam, and double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone and the elder bishops. Much respect to the mighty Gabar Yum on the highways and hedges bidding Yasha Allah to the marriage, and to the Gabar making videos of edification to wake up the little sheep, and salutations to the elect scattered abroad that be unto the speckled bird. So I started out with Ezekiel 37 verses 9 through 10. This is going into the men of the Lord prophesying, all right, bringing life unto the dry bones, as it speaks about in Ezekiel 37. The dry bones would be the Israelites who lost their way, okay, who lost the truth and who became Gentiles. Now this doctrine is preaching life into our people, okay, and they're becoming whole, man, being brought to life through the breath, which is the Ruach HaKodesh, understanding who they are according to the scriptures and the standard that they must uphold as the holy children of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So I saw this video. My rib actually sent this to me, and the channel is Mercy for the Elect 144, and it goes into Ephraim showing love for Judah, which is Bible prophecy. And this wouldn't have happened without the prophets of the Lord, the elder apostles of Great Millstone and the like-minded men on down, preaching and bringing life into us, understanding who we are and how we have to come together as the elect, okay? So I'm going to play this video, and I will add scriptures. So just bear with me.
Hello, it's the Caribbean Queen, and today I want to talk about Black Americans and their relationship with Puerto Ricans. The other day, I went to a barbecue that was hosted by South American people. They were very nice people, and I'm very grateful that they invited me. But they were playing a lot of Puerto Rican music. The majority of their music was Puerto Rican, and it made me think, because the Caribbean specifically, Caribbean Hispanics have always been looked at as the ghetto ones or the black ones or the uneducated ones who don't know how to speak Spanish compared to the other Hispanic communities. Yet they will take the sound of these Caribbean people. And although I'm talking about Puerto Ricans, I'll even go ahead and include Cuba and Dominican Republic in this conversation, because they make sure to take what they like but leave what they don't like from our communities. Similar to what they do with Black Americans. They take the AAVE and they take the aesthetic, but they'll leave the struggle. And then they'll act like they came up with it, like they created it. And in general, I just don't think people really give Black Americans their flowers. Anybody who knows me knows that I really don't care for the American culture. I don't like what's promoted in it. But after speaking with people on TikTok from all over the world and seeing how Black Americans have influenced every group of people in this planet, it reminds me of in Deuteronomy when the Most High says that these things will be like a wonder. And it is a wonder. It is a wonder how a group of people who have been so oppressed, enslaved, kept down, can be so influential that everyone wants to be like them, including my people too, because I would be a liar to sit up here and act like Black Americans have not completely influenced the Caribbean. The way that Puerto Ricans look and dress, that is from Black Americans. You have Japanese people making trap music, so that is a wonder, and that's why they are exploited in this country, because everybody knows that they are the trendsetters. And then you'll have African people trying to cling on to that. No, because the first chance they get, they literally remind us that we were slaves. And I do recall a time in history when Black Americans and Puerto Ricans were like this. Like, there was Black Panthers that were Puerto Rican. And I just feel like, in a sense, we face the same things when it comes to our culture. So the way that other Black countries look at Black Americans is the way a lot of Hispanic countries look at Puerto Rico. And I understand that Black Americans and Puerto Ricans have the powerhouse of America backing them, and that might be why they are able to influence such a large, basically the whole world, because I think the #1 artist right now is a Puerto Rican man. And I want to say that, if you don't know, the Black Americans here are from the tribe of Judah, and some of them are from the tribe of Gad, those who have native in them. So we are literally the people of the book. And I would like to get to a point where I see Black Americans and Puerto Ricans come back together, because I do feel like, in a sense, a lot of whitewashing is going on in my community, which is taking away the essence of what it is to be Puerto Rican. And I feel like the same thing has happened in the Black community. And because, like I said, they've been so exploited, it's going to lose its essence. On top of the fact that the colorism and racism that's promoted within the Black community. So I just want to take this moment to give Black Americans their flowers and let them know that they are the biggest influence on the face of the planet. And it's because they are chosen by the Most High God. And we should all turn back to him and keep his law, statutes, and commandments, and go back to the culture which we came from. Because unlike what they tell you in school, you did not just pop up out of nowhere in the 1600s with no history, no religion, no language. We, the African diaspora that came in that transatlantic slave trade, we were somebody. And even though we're still at the bottom of the totem pole in society in all of these countries, we're still chosen by the Most High. So let's use our influence. I love you. Shalom.
All right. So as you heard, man, our people are waking up. They're waking up to the knowledge of who they are, right? It tells us in Daniel, the 12th chapter, that knowledge shall be increased. This wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, which will keep us stable. Okay. Isaiah 33:6. Our people are doing their research. They're taking heed to the prophets, and they're starting to read the scriptures. That's why it says in let's get this real quick. Let's go to Baruch chapter 2 and verse 30. And I pray you brothers and sisters are being edified. I pray this is very edifying. Baruch chapter 3 and verse 30. I'll start at verse 29. And it says, no, 28. As thou speakest by thy servant Moses in the day when thou didst command him to write the law before the children of Israel, saying, if ye will not hear my voice, surely this very great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations where I will scatter them. And this is also matches up with Deuteronomy 28 in the 15th verse. Okay, and the scattering, which goes into Deuteronomy 28 and 64 and Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Okay, the transatlantic slave trade. Excuse me. Verse 30 says, for I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities, right? The land that we're in now, this is the final captivity. Okay, they shall remember themselves and shall know that I am the Lord, their power, for I will give them an heart and ears to hear, and they shall praise me in the land of captivity, and think upon my name, and return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds, but they shall remember the way of their fathers, which sinned before the land. Okay, and we all remember ourselves due to the pastors sent by the Lord, the true men of the Lord, the true apostles and elders, going back to the elder apostles of Great Millstone. Slakia. So I'm going to go back to Ezekiel 37. Okay, speaking of that great and exceeding army, right? Our people who are remembering themselves in the land of captivity and returning from their stiff-necked ways, as we just read in Baruch, the 2nd chapter. So let's go to Ezekiel 37. I think I stopped at verse 9, right? So let's pick up at verse 10. It says, then he said unto me, son of man, the bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say our bones are dried and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. So those dry bones goes into us being what? Famished and dehydrated, not having the living waters. The living waters being the doctrine of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. It says, therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. So that grave goes into what? A dead state spiritually. Okay. And it says, and ye shall know that I am the Lord, when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves. And I shall put my spirit in you, right? That breath of life. And ye shall live. And I shall place you in your own land. Then shall you know that I, the Lord, have spoken it and performed it, and saith the Lord. So this is a future prophecy. Because you got to remember, right now we're in the land of our captivity. But as we are awakening, becoming that great exceeding army, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai will gather us from the four winds. We're awakening everywhere. There are prophets all over the world, apostles all over the world, in many countries. She talked about, the so-called Ammonites doing the trap music and so on and so forth. Well, guess what? You got to remember, we were scattered. Okay, so it's not by the appearance, but by the spirit. It is the spirit that bear witness with our spirit that we are the children of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, right? Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. So our people are everywhere, okay? She mentioned how we're the trendsetters. Well, the scriptures does say that Jacob is the former of all things. So everyone wants to be like us. We are the salt of the earth, and we are the light to all the nations. Okay, the Lord has created us to be a holy people. Deuteronomy 7:6, above all people, not equal. Okay, we are above all people. And yes, due to our transgressions, we have become the tail and not the head. But guess what? The elect who are raised up through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua by his men, his prophets, his elder apostles, okay, the like-minded men, now we're coming to life and our bones are being replenished with the living waters. Okay, let's continue. It says, the word of the Lord Yahweh came again unto me, saying, moreover, son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim. Okay, so the house of Judah will be your so-called Negroes, okay, so-called West Indians, right, the Jamaicans, Bohemians, okay, and your so-called Haitians, right, that goes to Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, okay. Then you have Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, which represents the northern tribes, right, the so-called Puerto Ricans, the so-called Dominicans, the so-called Seminole Indians, the so-called Native Americans, the so-called Cubans, the so-called Brazilians, so on and so forth. Okay? So I'll read it in its entirety. Moreover, son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions. And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. So this is talking about what? The gathering of the elect from both tribes, from both kingdoms, southern and northern kingdom, us becoming one people again. Okay. Verse 18, and when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? So people's going to ask, what does this mean? Okay. This is why the scriptures talk about those teachers being sent from the Lord, teaching us and feeding us with the wisdom, knowledge, understanding. Verse 19 says, say unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. Okay? So this is talking about us coming together, not the whole so-called black community and so on and so forth. You got people say, oh, we got to all come together. No. Okay? This is about the elect coming together. The 144,000 and the 1/3. Even though this is talking about us waking up in the land of our captivity. But then again, you have the elect people out of all nations of the earth, and then you have the elect remnant inside of the elect nation. Okay? So we are waking up and we're calling ourselves by waking up to being Israelites. So let me get this real quick. Salakia. My brain is moving fast. Let's go to Isaiah. Isaiah 44. I try not to make this too long. I got to get back to it. Isaiah 44. And let's just get to the point. Let's stop. Let's start at verse 1 and read down to verse 4. It says, yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen, right? Because Israel is the chosen nation. It says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh that made thee and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou Jeshurun, whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, right? We just talked about in Ezekiel 37 about what? Us being dry bones, not having that living water. But the Lord is doing what? Verse 3, for I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon thy seed, and my blessing upon thy offspring. And they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the water courses. One shall say, I am the Lord's, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob, and another shall subscribe with his hand unto the Lord, and surname himself by the name of Israel. And this is why we let go of our worldly names, and we have taken hold unto Israelite names through the Lashwan Kodash, to the best of our ability. So this is a beautiful thing. This is the mass awakening. And this is what the other nations fear. Even though the other nations want to be like us, right? Let's get this. I want to get this real quick. This is beautiful. This will be in the book of 2nd Ezra. Let me get this real quick. 2nd Ezra 2. And verse 28, okay? Because she mentioned that, you have the so-called Africans, which we have people in there, but this is talking about the actual Africans, right? The Hamites. Because you got to remember, they weren't called Africans until Scipio Africanus ruled, okay? So, verse 28 says, of 2nd Ezra, the 2nd chapter, the heathen shall envy thee. So you have all these other nations that's going to try to be like us and imitate us, but they can't. Okay, and this is why they hate us. But what does the Lord say? 2nd Ezra 2 and 28. The heathen shall envy thee, but they shall be able to do nothing against thee, thus saith the Lord. All right. Especially the elect remnant. He also says this, my hand shall cover thee so that thy children shall not see hell. So when all hell break loose, the Lord is going to preserve his elect, which consisted of both southern and northern kingdom. Okay, those two sticks that will become one stick. Okay. And this reminds me of Captain America, Brave New World, where you had Captain America from the tribe of Judah, and you had Ephraim as the new Falcon. and they beat Esau, okay, the Red Hulk, and now what? He was in captivity, which a future prophecy. Scripture says that nursing fathers. Let's get this. Let's get that. I know I said I wasn't gonna make this too long, but you know how the spirit goes. Another future prophecy, because Esau is going into bondage, especially, not especially, but as well with the other nations, but most importantly Esau, Edom. This is Isaiah 49, and so that verse 22. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I will lift up mine hand to the Gentiles, and set up my standard to the people, and they shall bring thy sons in their arms, and thy daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. And kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and their queens thy nursing mothers. So the elites will bring their children, okay? And they will be servants unto us. So it says, Salakia, they shall bow down to thee with their face toward the earth, and lick up the dust of thy feet, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me. So this is going into the elect that wait upon the Lord. Didn't Yahweh Shai said that if those who follow me in the regeneration shall sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel? Okay. So we're waiting on the Lord. Let's continue. It says, shall the prey be taken for the mighty, or the lawful captive delivered? But thus saith the Lord Yahweh, even the captives of the mighty shall be taken away, and the prey of the terrible shall be delivered. For I will contend with them that contended with thee, and I will save thy children. Okay? And I will feed them that oppress thee with their own flesh, and they shall be drunken with their own blood as the sweet wine. And all flesh shall know that I am the Lord, thy Savior, and the Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob. You see that? This is why it's so important to have faith and to endure, because there is a beautiful prize at the end, man. These are all signs and wonders. These are future prophecies. You understand? Future prophecies of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. The scripture says, shall the Lord cast off his people? He said, no, no, God forbid, man. Yahweh forbid. And it's beautiful to see our people, especially those, the hopeful elect, coming together, man, in one mind and in one spirit. So I want to end off with this. This is Isaiah chapter 11. Man, what's on my throat, man? I start at verse 11, and I'll read down to verse. Let's start at verse 11 and read down to verse 13. Isaiah 11:11, it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, right? Gathering us from the four winds, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea, right? Places where we were scattered. And it says, verse 12, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, right? That goes into what the foreigners, the Israelite foreigners, the speckled birds, okay, so on and so forth. And gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. She brought up the diaspora, okay, through the transatlantic slave trade, going back into Deuteronomy 8 and 68. Verse 13 says, the envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not envy Shalaki. I'll read that again. Isaiah 11 and 13. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. These are the signs and wonders These are future prophecies. Ko Haloim La Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahasham Rabakak Wadash. I pray that y'all were edified. Shalom.